Hello everybody, welcome to another video. As per usual, I'm back to share some of the stuff that I've been working on. In the background, we have a time-lapse of the teensy mini-copter being assembled. You know, the one that saves you from death during the teensy highways. So yeah, how the project's going? Well, thank you for asking. I finally got around to implementing some Rayman punishment. Go on, do it. The teensy highways could be just as deadly if it weren't for the mini-copter. Ugh, sorry. Breaking my arm really made me rethink my mortality. Oh, by the way, want to see my new scar? If only I had my own mini-copter. Anyway, remember when I was talking about the first-person mode last video? Well, here we go.
Hit the jump button in order to jump. Wowee. Now that's what I call info. It tells you to hit the shoot button when you want to attack.
Am I playing Rayman or Mirror's Edge? I can no longer tell. The body kind of clips through the camera when you front flip, but I'll just make it where you don't front flip when you're in first person mode, and that should suffice.
What? This is out of control. The manual claims that you can make a chopper out of your hair. Make a chopper.
I also made it where to collect the Matufu you just have to aim at it and click on it. So there's no need to wait until the game decides that you're actually looking at it. And another thing, I hid some additional Matuvus throughout the level. By the way, I was really excited to make this model because I really like making these kind of mechanical hard surface models. And given the, more organic nature of the Rayman aesthetic, I didn't have a chance to make a model like this in a very long time. So yeah, I had a great time working on this one. So another thing that I think came out really cool is the main menu. So kurwa? Ah, sorry. I forgot that last video I said that I would leave this one for later. Oh well, we'll try again next time. If we instead turn our attention towards the time-lapse now, we should be able to spot a wild teensy soon. There he is. I dropped him in the scene because he's really helpful in getting the correct proportions of the vehicle. Another thing I wanted to mention, you may remember from one of the devlogs where I said that I don't really like how I did the lighting in this room. Well, now I do. Yeah, I finally gone back to change this, so another thing off the list. Now it resembles a lot more the lighting how it was in the original. It's a little more gloomy. Okay, now I'd like to present another community-created Rayman skin.
How's it hanging, wiener dog? What? Rock bottom. Get back up there. Get back to the council at 5 a.m. Listen up, pipsqueak. Combat fatigues.
Thank you very much, Adamek, for this beautiful skin. One of Rayman 1's best characters for sure. Oh, hi Globox. Oh, that actually reminds me. I didn't feel like creating new animations for Globox when he's grabbed by the mini-copter, so I just make him ragdoll instead. The results are pretty funny. Oh, now this part of the time-lapse is a bit more interesting, I think. You see, when I make these hard surface models like this one, I like to choose one of the pieces and kind of take it to a near completed state, like I'm going to do with this one. I do this so I decide earlier on some kind of style, which helps me kind of see in my mind how the rest of the model is going to look. once the other pieces are done in a similar vein to this one piece. So yeah, I guess instead of kind of evenly distributing the work over the whole model, I instead kind of focus on singular pieces and go piece by piece. Yeah, now that I'm happy with this part, it's time to rinse and repeat for all the others. By the way, you may have noticed that I changed the direction of the claws compared to the original model. Of course, this change was dictated by the fact that the old way of grabbing the board didn't make much sense. This just feels much more natural. Another thing I really want to show you, like seriously, pay attention to this one, is this animation I made for when the Mini-copter puts you back on track. Are you watching? Do you see the cute teensy saluting at you as he flies away? I really need someone to see this because it's impossible to see this in game. I gotta zoom in and slow down the footage like over 2 times. And only then I can actually see it. Also, I just colored the teensy red and called it a day instead of making him like a custom outfit. It's just that if doing this was good enough for the original, then it's good enough for me. I mean, the teensy in the original model doesn't even have arms. So come on, give me a break. Fun fact, up until I started working on this model, I thought that the teensy head that you could see in the original model was actually a glass cover for the helicopter cockpit. Alright, I got a couple of Discord questions since the last video, so why don't I go over them right now? Carlos is back with another question, asking whether the game will have some graphical settings. So the answer is yes. Unreal Engine has these settings pre-built, so at the very least I could at least enable those. But I did put in some additional scalability features, so the user can further tweak those settings. And using those settings, I've been testing the game on some different hardware than my own. My friend has a laptop with a GTX 1660 Ti, so not even an RTX. And it's a laptop, so the desktop equivalent of that card would be something lower. And honestly, it ran better than I expected. Because, you know, I'm using Lumen, which is supposed to be this Unreal Engine's next-gen feature. So I expect it to be computationally heavy. Like even on the Unreal Engine documentation page, it says that Lumen targets 30 FPS on epic settings or 60 on high at 1080p, like not even 2K. So, you know, it's pretty understandable that you need a fairly modern GPU. But yeah, after tweaking some of the settings that I created, my friend was able to get around 50 FPS on his laptop. This is the footage that he sent me, so you can have a look yourself. In the upper right corner is his frame rate, and the video is a bit choppy because he was using some kind of recorder that wasn't hindering his performance in game. But yeah, of course it doesn't look as good as on my videos, where I play on max settings. That's to be expected, but I think it's still holding up. Once I release this level, I also plan to put out a video going over the graphical settings and kind of explaining them, because this game dev techno mumbo jumbo can be confusing. So I think it might be helpful if I make a video where I explain what setting that I implemented exactly does what and how impactful it is. Also, I am still currently on Unreal Engine 5.3, where the newest version is 5.5, which allegedly has better performance for Lumen. I haven't tested that yet myself, but it is possible that just through updating the engine version, I might be able to get some additional performance gains from Lumen. Cool. Thank you for another amazing question. Next up we have Jono, who clearly wants me to make some new enemies and asks about whether I approve of pineapple on pizza. Oh hey, look how the teensy's feet are dangling through the hole in the Mini-copter. I think that looks super cute. Okay, I admit, I enjoy pineapple on pizza. Thank you, Jono. If I lose half of my subscribers after this video, I'm putting the blame on you. So the last question comes from Lix. This one I actually answered on my Discord server pretty thoroughly, because it felt like a pretty important question and I didn't want to force Lix to wait a month for another video to get his answer. But I do want to repeat my answer now, because I feel like this is a question that might interest some other people and help them as well. So the question basically is, what was my journey to get the 3D skills that I have? Did I go to some kind of art school, mentorship programs, or maybe if I can recommend a good source for tutorials. So my journey looked something like this. I first got my bachelor's degree in sound engineering, but it honestly didn't take long during the bachelor's that I realized that this is not something that interests me. But I did finish my bachelor's anyway, because it seemed like the smarter thing to do. But since I knew that this is a field that I don't really want to work in, during my studies, after my lessons at the university, I would be learning 3D. So I first started with Zbrush tutorials on YouTube. Then I did some paid courses that were also pretty helpful, but still my skills were really bad. Though even with my super limited experience and skill set, I did manage to land an internship at a company that did all kind of 3D work. And honestly, in my opinion, if you can manage to get some kind of internship or job as quickly as possible, then that is absolutely the fastest way to improve, because the most important thing is practice, and you really can't be 8 hours a day in an office full of people that are also doing 3D. Yeah, that's like the best practice you can get, at least from going from like a beginner to a medium level artist. Going higher than that, I think, is a little harder and requires more effort. Like, I consider myself a medium level artist. But yeah, the internship that I got turned into a full-time job after my 3-month, what's it called? You know, this test period. So yeah, I didn't go to any art school, no programs. Maybe I got lucky, but from my experience, if you want to work in 3D or be pretty serious about it, I would recommend trying to get some kind of job or internship as fast as possible. Don't be scared that you're not very good yet, because that will come with experience. And I think what companies want most from like an intern is to see that they're willing to learn and improve. I guess some more general advice I could give is, well, like for example, for sculpting, I really recommend practicing anatomy. That's like the most important thing in sculpting and the most difficult one. If you can understand and recreate organic forms of the body, then you can pretty much sculpt anything. Also, a basic piece of advice, but very important one, is always have reference. As for tutorials, when I was learning, I would watch a lot of videos from the Flip Normal's YouTube channel. I'd say they helped me a lot. I also like watching streams, because they sometimes go from like the very beginning to the very end of the modeling process. The only downside is that those streams sometimes take like 20 hours. So they're a big time investment. The official Zbrush channels has a lot of streams from various different artists, and they usually link their socials in the descriptions. So if you find an artist that you particularly enjoy, this way you can, you know, go watch at the source. Alrighty, that was a long one. Thank you, Lix, for the great question. And that would be all of the questions for today. Perhaps now I'll clutter the screen a little bit and put some in-engine shots of the Mini-copter. Okay, and with that, that's pretty much all of the news I wanted to share with you today. There is one more thing I wanted to say about the teensy copter that's related to textures, but I'll wait for the texturing part of the video to say it. So if you're about to stick around, then see you then. And if not, thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a good time, and see you next time. Bye bye. It's me again. You can probably see that the material definition for this model is much more realistic than for the other ones that I've made for the game. The biggest reason for that is because I just felt like making a model like this one, and I'm not really worried about it not fitting in with the other models because it's on screen for such a short time that you're only going to be able to get a glance at the, like basic colors and silhouette. And the silhouette, in my opinion, is just as stylized as the other models that I've made. Like the proportions for this helicopter resemble much more a child's toy than an actual helicopter. And the other explanation I like to kind of have in my head for why this model is textured more realistically than the others is because, the TC highway can be considered somewhat of a wormhole that bridges different dimensions. Like in the first TC highway, you can see the ship from Star Trek flying in the distance. So I kind of like the idea that the TNCs just nicked this helicopter from like a different reality and are using it for their own purposes. So yeah, basically the textures are supposed to kind of tell this lore that I have in my head. Also, in case some of you are wondering why I separated the top light from the helicopter, as you can notice here in the texture set list, I decided to do this because of the fact that I want to release the whole project file at some point, and I just feel like this spinning top light could be fairly creatively reused by other people who would like to do something with this project. And that's basically the only reason that I think it could be useful as a separate model for others. Like for example, maybe someone wants to have a huge door and they could put this spinning light as a warning indication that the doors are opening, like stay clear, environmental hazard type of thing. If I were to just release this level and keep all the files for myself, I definitely wouldn't separate those two models and just have one texture set for the whole helicopter. Okay, thank you for getting this far, and please enjoy the rest of the video. Peace.